Grupa E, and it's always pronounced with a rise in cadence and a lifted left eyebrow, is an independent, like E, it's actually from a joke, is an independent design collective composed of Mina Fina, Damjan Ilić, and Ivian Kan Mujezinović. They are a creative team behind visual identities of many cultural institutions in Slovenia, such as Slovensko mladinsko gledališče, GLEJ, Mednarodni grafični likovni center, Galerija P74, Ravnikar Gallery Space, Muzej za arhitekturo in oblikovanje, Muzej tranzitorne umetnosti Mota in številnih drugih. In 2023, for the 6th consecutive year, they were also interested in designing the visual identity of the Steirlischer Herbst Festival in Graz. In their presentation, originally made for the Insights 2023, the design lecture series by the Walker Arts Center and IGA Minnesota, they paused to ask, how does a group, a studio, or institution evolve? And what is lost and what is found in this process? Grupa E explores the effect of time on both design and personal identities and will share their insights with us today. So please welcome Mina and Ivian and Grupa E.
Hello. Thank you, Aydin, for this lovely introduction.
Hello. Yeah, thank you also for the explanation of our name, Grupa E. And because, of course, you know very well how the name was invented. But as everything changes and all our identities change through time and shift, also Grupa E doesn't have to stay Grupa E, but it can also be Grupa E or whatever else. So, so we will talk today about 3-hour projects that we work on for a longer period of time. And it's exactly the projects that are like first one is GLEJ Theater that we work, I think, almost 15 years on it. It's the best example of how when you start to work the identity, after 15 years, this identity completely changes and dissolves, disappears, and becomes something else.
Reconstruct, rebuild.
Yeah.
So GLEJ Theater is Slovenia's oldest independent theater, founded back in the 1970s. It's an experimental venue that offers young and up-and-coming theater creatives space to explore. So it was already 40 years of history of the theater when we started working with them.
What was interesting about GLEJ when we started is that actually we were thinking about the history of the theater. So what happened with the theater identity when we started working, and we found it to be kind of lost in time because the theater actually, when it started, it was experimental theater with very strong identity and also the visual identity made by Matjaž Vipotnik. That was changing, evolving, and somewhere in the 90s, I think GLEJ had was also very known in Ljubljana, and slowly was losing its place as a theater because it was shifting more towards the theater plays that had their own identities, but the theater, as a house, was somehow
fading away.
Yeah. So we were thinking like what GLEJ actually is, and GLEJ means to look, to watch. So this is how the logo looked like on first GLEJ. And our idea was to think about it, how to make the identity that works the same way if you look at it or if you just listen to it. So it was like if you hear it on the radio, that you have the same impact as if you see it on the poster. So we were thinking about GLEJ, and then we were adding things like GLEJ, the name of the show, GLEJ bar,
So we were putting the Glay name in front of everything, in front of the titles of the show, in front of their slogans, so to speak, so to position Glay again, to make it known again. And we stripped the identity from photography just to black and white colors, grotesque font. So just these imperative sentences that in their purest form.
Yeah, so to shift this, we also were using the simplest possible typography. I think it was accidents grotesque, I think, and the whole layouts and everything, it was like really simple. It was
very
the way
organized.
how it should be, very organized. Yeah, the way
structured.
How the identity should look like. Yeah.
Yes.
So very classic, actually, in a way. For that time, being a classic in a theater that's experimental was actually different. However, we got bored of that then, after a few years. So we wanted to try a little bit different approach to work on the theater.
I mean, we got bored also because the time constraints. And you realize when you're working on something that you maybe you come to the end, you don't know what excites you anymore with the design, and also the shift. I guess that the new art direction, I mean, not art direction, the new creative director for the theater came, this changed.
We made the shift at the same time when they changed the director, creative director. What kind of makes sense, because we think that the identity of a house like a theater or something else should like really represent their idea. They want the message they want to give. So we wanted actually to try to work in a different way, in a way that that we somehow surprise ourselves with the results. So it was
the editor of the new Glay booklets also wanted to shift the booklets from not only concerning the booklet about the theater play, but also other things that were happening around and inside the theater. And this booklet can also be found around the city. It's more like flyer fun booklet.
Yeah, it was at the same time the content was not only about one show, but about the theater as the house, as the future, the things that already happened. So it was kind of different. But for us, it was a great playground. So we started working, the three of us, in a way that I would do a part of the layout, the other part would do Mina, the third part would do Damian, and we wouldn't actually know which of one was working on. So the day when things would go to press, we would just put them together and see what happens. So
yeah, this also was showing in different formats. That was inside these booklets, and we were experimented with different colors, rasters. The photography came more into the front of the design.
Yes, also this approach later, in the third edition that we're watching now, this is already the third edition of the layouts, was actually to move it even further. So not only to leave the creative process between the three of us, but also to leave it to the printer. So we would go to the printer and we would say like, what paper do you have? So you can pick something that you like. We don't know what color we want to use, so what was the last color you were using in the machine, so let's just use that one.
A constructive deconstruction of a process. Yeah, somehow. And one thing that is very important is our collaboration with the printer as well. I think he's a small printer with old machines, and we are working with him for a long time. And I think that he taught us a lot also, and also that he's so flexible that we go there to his studio and choose the papers with him, and I think this was a very big part, yeah.
And we have to go for a coffee and then talk about the print and the politics, of course. So, I mean, this last approach to Glay identity was actually how to make the complete destruction of it. I mean, it's still in the process. We didn't finish the destruction, but idea is to completely mesh the photography, different fonts, that we lose all these, how you call it, konstante, celostne podobe.
The constant of visual identity. Or also that we blow up all the logos. We don't hide. We don't want to make them small. The position of the logos change. Everything. But we do everything that is wrong. We test the field with Glay, also for other, so that like, we will use these strange color combinations for them. And so now that we know this experience, we can use it in a different project. That doesn't allow us maybe so much experimentation. Also, sometimes the people in Glay didn't see when the files went to print, they only see black and white. So they are always kind of surprised when they get the printed materials. Sometimes we don't tell them what kind of colors are we using and so on. So it's also experiment for them.
So kind of the idea is that we follow this destruction to the point where the identity will stop working. I mean, so we want to see where is the end to this, how far we can go. And probably when we reach the end, we will just leave the theater identity to somebody else.
Yeah, so that it's because you don't come to this theater because you know the director or the actor. You come to the theater because you will get a special experience there. Also, one special experience was this booklet that we did.
Yeah.
That was really hard time constraints, and people. Like a lot of people were writing in Google Docs, and there was no time if we would import this into file to check. So we decided that we will just make PDF out of the Google Docs and place it on the pages. And then...
And also the photography, like we didn't have time to, or actually didn't even want to pick the good photos from the bad photos, so we just used all of them.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a movie. And then I really love the color combination of this orange and yellow and the big raster. Yeah, it's somehow that you do things that you wouldn't let yourself do anywhere else, or that you would. We are now working in like 10 years or even more, 15 for them. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically it's also what I think the theater really needs. It's in a way it's what we want, but I think it's also the only way that the experimental theater should actually be. So I think it's it's a good match. So
Yeah. I always say the joy of designing and crisis of time constraint.
yeah.
And now, Steirischer Herbst is one of the biggest interdisciplinary art festival based in Austria, but with very international program and outreach. It's been going on since 1968. Every autumn since its founding half century ago, the festival has provided a platform for new productions, provoking and shaping public debates across many disciplines and media.
So we started working in 2018, and when we started working for Steirischer Herbst, we didn't really know much about the festival. So,
Or in what kind of job we are
jumping.
into.
So we did kind of research what this festival was in the beginnings, what became later. It actually also had a lot of shifts. It started more with visual art. Later it was more about theater performances. But all the time it was basically about art. So what changed in 2018 is that the creative director became Ekaterina Dego, and she really shifted the festival toward the curatorial program and the other part of the parallel program that's more or less everything that happens connected to culture in Graz. So we were thinking how to deal with this identity, because it was something that had a long history, but it actually overnight became something completely, at least how we saw it, completely different than it was before. So we were kind of thinking to make like anti-logo, anti-identity. So we used the word Steirischer Herbst in the same manner as it was used in the 50s with Helvetica.
60s, 70s.
Or 60s, yeah, whatever. And we just made a strike through, which was like symbolizing actually not so much the new start, but actually the new end, the end to something that was before, and also black hole over a logo to end something that was happening, not knowing really what's coming new.
Yeah, each year the festival has a theme, and every year we have to rethink how to deal with it, how it's going to be placed around us, how to communicate this, and because it's not only like a poster and a booklet, we have to do, I mean, the great part about these identities that we can do so many things, so many print products, video products, signage, so that we can really explore in a different way and how to apply our design. And the first year we did the design for the institution of Steirischer Herbst that became, so to say, the backbone for next 5 years.
Yeah, I think we could call it the identity we do here is kind of layered identity. So we have this base of the institution, but of course every year everything is becoming completely different, because the world we live in around us is changing every year. Also, the curators change now and then. their approach of work changes, our approach changes. So with adding different layers each year, we somehow slowly shift things towards what the festival is talking about, which each edition.
Yeah, it was, the first topic was the rise of new fascism, and we looked for our inspiration not in the design, but mostly every time we look for the inspiration in art, and with this simple gesture of cutting the logo, of cutting the poster with black shapes, we communicated that we are here, something sinister is on a rise, the new nationalism that is creeping all around us. The identity, as you can see, has so many iterations, and the big part is the font, I think.
Yes, the font is actually. It was also. I mean, it was not such typographic approach to the font. It was more conceptual. So it's basically the first year. It was just the cut as we cutted the logo. So we cutted the whole font. We cut it. Neuhaus grotesque, I think it's cut it. And it's actually the similar approach that we used later. We always play with the basic font that we shift in some different way. So first year it was cut it horizontally. Last year we cut it vertically, and some years in between. We were just changing the character with some small add-ons.
Because I really like how this new font gives you a little bit the feel. Every new year it's a little bit different. It gives you this creepy new shapes.
So second year was actually the edition was Grand Hotel Abyss. We found the inspiration mostly in Biedermeier furniture. That was somehow gave this uncanny feeling of the identity.
Yeah, because the name of this edition comes from a book from Marxist philosopher from Hungary, Grand Hotel Abyss, that deals with apocalyptic, the hedonistic time between wars or before the collapse of the society.
So this edition was. So it was basically all about hedonism and abyss. So it was like the end of the world, and that we should enjoy our last days before
all collapses.
Before the collapse. Yeah. So the next was actually, it was like kind of funny, because next year was the COVID year. So we had to change the festival completely. And where are we? Okay. So the festival had to move to internet. So we made actually a TV station.
A TV station, and this was, I really enjoyed making this identity because I could use my knowledge from VJing on raves and doing video with my VJing software.
So, I mean, for me, it was like real fun because, so the year before we were thinking about the end of the world, and now we were actually making the identity for a TV station that's in the end of the world.
Broadcasting through the end of the world.
So we were like trying to make this creepy, strange TV station logo that was actually done in 2D software in InDesign. And the biggest fun here was that we actually here mixed everything. It was like happening really fast because we had to react. We didn't have time to think about the concepts and what we want to say. We just had to say whatever.
Yeah, because we already had the identity, but then the COVID came and we had to change everything in 1 week. So
actually, it was stressful but very fun project, and I mean, I don't know. I was working in InDesign on this logo, and then they just gave it to Mina, and then she started working in a VJ software, and then from there. And then from VJ software we went back to print, from print back to video. So then we did some layout pages of the book also in a VJ software. So it was a complete mashup and a very nice experiment, actually.
Yeah, actually it was really because the festival moved to the internet, and so there wasn't enough audience that they could see everything. So we had a great opportunity to work on this catalog and actually working through different layouts, how to present work that is video-based work, because most of the artists did videos, and how to present videos in a book format.
Yeah, I mean, not just the videos, actually the TV stations. So how to make this feeling that when you flip through the pages of the book, you have a feeling that you're watching a TV. So the layout was somehow trying to mimic the opening scenes. Then, like this page here, it was actually the opening scene break between two shows, or like commercials.
Like it would be
or
a commercial, yes.
So yeah, that's it. We also used like really.
I mean, it was really good also because the printing process was really demanding, because we used, I don't know, fifth color, special binding. What else?
I don't know. We used everything that we could thought of.
Because there was a budget for this book, because there wasn't a lot of other like signage and so on. There was no need for that.
And like the main difference, like from Glade, that we always go and talk with the printer, and we go for a coffee and try things together. We had no idea where this book was printed, actually.
They didn't want to talk with us, actually. We just got like the whole book through the mail, printed in big box, and we looked through it, marked the mistakes, sent them files, and they were like, no, like they were only communicated through mail, no telephone calls, nothing. And so
however, the print was great, yeah.
Yes, the book was a big success. Really nice to look at and flip through.
The Way Out.
The Way Out. The Way Out edition actually, what was allowed or not allowed?
Yeah, it was the second year of COVID, so everything was forbidden and everything was allowed if you had like different status or you didn't have. So
if you were 2 meters apart, then it's allowed.
Yeah, so the identity had to react to that. So it was kind of a signage. So you can go left, you can go right. You shouldn't go here. So the danger is here. So also the festival moved out to the streets because it was not happening inside. But it was not only on internet anymore. So
Yeah, and we make this really prominent visitor center. It was a collaboration with an artist who did, how do you say this,
optical illusion,
in the on the ground floor, and used our colors. And then the first floor was with our mashup of stop and go design.
Yeah.
The fun part was also doing a little car, a van for.
It was actually a TV van because
van,
they were
yeah.
also making a show report that was broadcasted on internet, but it was an artist project that was everyday work, filming people on the street. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also such a great thing. How can you translate all these crazy colors, design through different through different print products and adapt to the times that we can be together, but not some. So again, the festival was sort of in public spaces, a little bit on the internet. Yeah, the way out.
So next edition is about
War.
the war.
War in a distance.
Yeah. It's actually it's the 5th year, so it's the year when we somehow wanted to close the circle of our work here. So we moved somehow to the to think about what we did the first year, and we did very similar, like a new edition of the identity we did the first year, just a little bit different. So now the font was cut vertically. And the big black shapes were replaced with the chaotic.
Yeah, they were more chaotic, layered over posters and throughout the city.
So
like an explosion of our identity, and the big part was the exhibition. The main part of the festival was the exhibition. Just a little note, I really like to make little miniatures of bigger printing products that you saw just before.
Yeah, it was mainly the exhibition, not so much about the performances, but performances as well. So also the big part of this year was actually the catalog, the book that we did, and it was actually we're thinking how to translate the exhibition into the book, so that when you flip through the catalog, you have a feeling that you walk through the rooms in the exhibition place. And it was like really a translation of the exhibition, also with the color of walls, the color of pages in the book, with the inserts that were actually the essays that were
on the walls.
Yeah, different contents. So that was that. Yeah. Next project we want to tell something about is Mladinsko Theater, and that's the second theater in Ljubljana after Glej. Glej was first. No, Mladinsko was first. Actually,
Mladinsko was first.
Glej was second, but the Mladinsko, as we know today, was actually later.
emerged in the
Yeah.
in the 80s.
Yeah.
But the difference between Mladinsko and Glej is in size. Mladinsko is a theater with ensemble and 2 stages, big technical background. They have 6 premieres per season. And when we started to work with the new artistic director Goran Injac, who made already a strong impression on the program, explicitly he linked his program to the tradition of the 80s from the Mladinsko, when this house was established as a politically engaged creative center. And the identity from that time in the 80s was done by a very known Slovene designer, Matjaž Vipotnik.
Same as Glej identity. So
Yeah,
in a way,
yeah. We are walking in his shoes.
So it was also like how to deal now with this old identity that was actually fantastic, but we like really wanted to make something completely different. So there was this bird that was like really a fantastic symbol that everybody already knows. So we knew we don't want to get rid of it.
Because it so
Yeah.
identifies with Mladinsko.
So we just decided to give bird the freedom to build our identity all around it. So we never touch the bird, and the bird actually never touches our design. So.
Yeah. We, we make it contemporary with the use of the typography.
Yeah. So maybe what's different from Glej is that in Glej we're like really experimenting with changing the identity and changing everything about it. Mladinsko is actually done in a more conservative way from design point of view. The typography is clean, its layout is the way the layout should look like. But this experimental approach of shifting things, it's more in different things. One is in the logo itself, which can change
stylistic sets
inside
the typography that was kind of like ready-made for our identity.
We found this Euclid font that it was like a ready-made object for what we wanted to do. And of course, like through every season with the campaigns that are more political, and we try to do them in a way to penetrate to the city with a lot of posters and to pose questions to the society about each year about something else.
Yeah. Because they don't see our design is also the extension of their critical thinking and critical mirroring to the public, and they also are using posters and advertising actions to give questions to the public and to again contextualize things that are happening around us politically.
I mean, we think of it as an extension of the theater stage. So where the stage ends, it's where we can start to work with design and go to the other media to give the same message.
And this no alarms, no surprises was a big advertising campaign that resembled the campaign from the 80s before our independence. That was... what did you want to say?
I don't know. It was yellow.
It was yellow. No, it was the...
it was very known and very important for the independence state of mind here, actually, before the independence of Slovenia. So.
Yeah. But this can just show how quickly the nationalism can be in one, like, good and like in other instances, because of this right-wing government that was this this season was aiming toward.
Yeah, it was the idea to show, like, with this uplifting thing, how these things can also be downlifting.
Yeah. Theater is very politically involved. The outside communication with the audience on the street level is also very important. They are not only doing like theater plays, but also with this Nova Pošta to make audience question with different like talks, performances, and some of the projects are very, I don't know, I lost my thought. Okay, sorry.
So, I don't know, we wanted to oversize everything. So the theater leaflets were also oversized, made like a newspaper, because this is a big theater, Gley is a small theater, so that one had like the small leaflets. A lot of things that we tried actually with Gley, we used here in a different manner. So the Gley is somehow the project that we all love to try everything, and then when we tried there with this experimental theater, then we can use this knowledge for some bigger projects, like also for Paranoia book. And I think this really makes sense, because also like the theater is made, the idea of the theater itself is to be experimental theater. It's a great way that we try to think of the design in the same way. So I think designers also need experimental venues and not experimental later. Yeah.
Also, the use of photography was it's very important, like your photography.
Yeah.
For the process of designing and getting the point across.
Also because here we were working on place, so photography, it's different. I like to use our photography here, because working with the photographer is one way of the approach, but when you want to try something experimental, it's something that you do yourself. So it's sometimes like here we just use the lights from the stage, or sometimes it's even working together with the director on the photography, sometimes also influence
the process of
their process that they have, and they influence yours. So it's some kind of synergy that's happening between us and the theater. I think that with all these clients, we have like really good way of working, and I think that this synergy is like really important for us, for our work. And that
I mean, we prioritize this synergy collaboration, not just being like, oh, do this job.
Yeah.
We like to be like, get our hands dirty, or what is the saying? I don't know. And to be...
I think it's also the way that you actually in the end have more freedom when you work together than if you just work on your own.
You mean with the houses?
Yeah, I mean with the client.
With the client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's important, we like what they do, and they like what we do. So.
I mean, I think they let us have. Now they expect also this, like they want crazy colors, they want different binding.
I mean, I hope they like it.
I mean, these are our long-term clients, so I guess they do.
I guess they do, yeah. that's basically what we wanted to show you, to talk about. So thank you.
So thank you very much. I'm quite sure your clients love you. So I'm quite sure your clients love you.
Okay.
So, yeah. So if anybody has a question, we can, I think, take two right now. So raise your hand, and I'll bring you a mic. Again, nobody? So maybe I can ask a question. So just like in all of these things that you do, there's a lot of print, there's a lot of like signage and stuff, but which part is your favorite?
I think favorite is actually also, I could say, I think it's definitely print. It's also especially print and layout. It's also actually very important for our process because we actually start everything from the layout.
Yes, we like almost never we don't draw something. We make up our minds and constrictions and rules about the visual identity through the layout, through the working on layout. So we usually like to have the right texts for that.
It's also, I mean, the other things, I mean, like the logos and everything usually comes in the end. So, I mean, of course, it depends from the project, but the most of the process happens in the layout, and it's like all the composition, it's from there, yeah.
Said it a few times, and I'm interested because I never know when it's the end. When it's the end for you?
The what?
The
end. You said, you know, we will know when it's the end. How do you know when it's the end?
That was actually, I was talking about Glay. So, yeah, we were thinking about the end for a long time. So I think the end will be when we find that the identity is not functioning anymore like an identity. So when the theater won't be recognizable,
or
then
when
it will be
when the change, the director, or like
okay,
this.
but that's not. That's,
I mean, that's
that's something
way.
that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way of ending.
But yeah, the idea is that we dissolve it completely. So when we reach the complete destruction, then it will be the end.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.